Hey, everybody, welcome to Real Talk. I am your host, Paul Britton. Today, we are going to be talking about a brand new movie just released this weekend, A Haunting in Venice, from Kenneth Branagh, his latest adaptation of an Agatha Christie book. Um, you know, that's the only one I got. So I'm going to spend a little time talking about Branagh and Agatha Christie and just kind of how that pairing has worked so far. Their first move, Brandon's first adaptation was the classic, sort of like the okay, if you're going to do Agatha Christie, this is the one you're going to do, Murder on the Orient Express. And some people will say, oh, we don't need, we didn't need it. We There's a adaptation from the 70s, and that's good enough. And I am not one of those some people, because I loved the Murder on the Orient Express adaptation from Kenneth Branagh. I feel like, while yes, there are other movies that have done a perfectly adequate job of adapting these books. One, it's not always easy to find older movies. Uh, and two, I don't necessarily think for things like that, where it's like the adaptation is fine, and but not like, oh my god, it won an Oscar or something like that. Uh, I feel like, hey, look, it's totally okay to take amazing literature and just like adapt it. I don't see a problem with it. Yes, original stories would be great, but you know what? Exposing new audiences to classics, just great stories. I, I'm fine with that. And the other thing about these movies, the Agatha Christie movies, that really lend themselves to frequent adaptations is the fact that the cast is so huge. Okay, so, and changes every time. So it's not like a situation where it's like, okay, well, you're just going to get two actors, and what are these two actors feel? It's like you get to see people that you don't normally get to see in movies come together and do something fun. And that's what these movies are. These are just like fun, like who done it mystery that you could absolutely read the book and get the same thing out of it, or you could watch the 1970s version and get the same thing out of it, or you could watch the modern versions with actors that that you have a ongoing relationship with, and get to watch them just go in and have fun. Like Johnny Depp's turn Johnny Depp and Michelle Pfeiffer stood out in the original one. Then a few years later, in the middle of the pandemic, this was one that had been planned and then was supposed to start filming like immediately, like in March of 2020, as the second the pandemic hit. They did Death on the Nile, and it's okay. I don't have major problems with the story itself. I thought all of the acting was really good. People were having fun again, much like in the first one. The problem was the setting. They ended up just doing it in front of a green screen, and I imagine part of that might have been pandemic related. Part of it might have been just a lot easier to, it would be very difficult to, I would imagine, to go to Egypt and just kind of be like, here, we're going to be back in, sometime between World War I and World War II Egypt. And I just imagine that's a difficult thing to pull off. Especially when a lot of the movie features some really famous and well-known and beloved historical sites. I think that's difficult to do. What's not difficult to do, however, is go to Venice and make it feel like it's 2 years after World War II, which is when this movie's taking place. And it's not like there's been a whole lot of development on Venice. Venice was developed, and then it's just kind of been, it's still Venice. and I think I would, there's so much preservation of the buildings there, and there's so much. So let's start the review. Let's start the review of A Haunting in Venice. So after Death on the Nile, story's okay. Some pandemic problems. Kind of surprising we're getting another one. I imagine part of that is because these probably aren't the most expensive movies to make, and so like you throw 15-20 million dollars at the movie, and you've kind of made your money back pretty quick. Uh, I don't know, just a guess. And the great thing about this version is they were able to do a lot of filming on site, and it's obvious, and it really helps with the movie. So first and foremost, just want to say that visually probably the most compelling of the three movies, just because it's like, oh my god, they're in Venice, this is really cool. The idea here is that Hercule Poirot has been brought into participating in a seance by a friend of his, Ari. This name is terrible. Ariadne, Ariadne Oliver. I don't. Played by Tina Fey. Hercule Poirot was brought in by Tina Fey to participate in a seance, and Tina Fey plays an author, a mystery author who writes stories about Hercule Poirot. And oh, by the way, it's the avatar for Agatha Christie that pops up in several of her books. I'll be full disclosure, I haven't read any of her books, don't know, just that's my understanding. So this character pops in up in several of the stories, is in this one. And there are two other recognizable actors, Michelle Yeoh and Jamie Dornan. Jamie Dornan, by the way, I really like Jamie Dornan. His best role by far and away, and just one of my favorite movies of the past 5 years, Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. He is so good in that movie. One of my least favorite movies of the past 5 years, Heart of Stone. He is not good in that movie. That came out earlier this year. I actually reviewed that recently. He's so much better in this, almost unrecognizable. Like I genuinely had no idea it was him until I sat down to kind of like get prepped for this. I was like, that was fucking Jamie Dornan. All right, well, good. All right, let's do this. I genuinely didn't recognize any of the other actors. And I oh, that's not true. That's not true. There was one other actor I recognized, Kelly Riley. And she plays like an opera singer who is the one that is hosting the seance because she wants to speak to her childhood, her like 20-year-old child who had passed away recently. So the interesting thing with this one is it's not just a murder mystery. There's also some not I don't want to go horror movie because this movie's not even remotely scary, but suspense, scare, spoopy, but not spoopy in the sense that it's funny, but spoopy in the sense that it's kind of like, oh, that's a little unnerving. Yeah, that's really what this movie is. More than anything is it's unnerving. It's just you are constantly kept on your heels as you're pulled through this mystery, at much like Hercule Poirot is pulled through on his heels, and just kind of has to deal with part of the allure on this one is you have these characters dealing with is is there some aspect of you know beyond can be explained by science, some supernatural phenomenons that just have to be accepted as being supernatural, um and just kind of watching that aspect of it unfold was interesting. Look, this is not Murder on the Orient Express. I'm just going to tell you that's not what it is. But you know from a mystery standpoint, I don't think from this plot, the plot of this one doesn't hold up as well as Death on the Nile. But Death on the Nile is just like a classic. Everybody acknowledges it's amazing. And so, and I'm not going to say that, oh, though this is one of their one of Agatha Christie's lesser works, but it's certainly, based off of one of her lesser known novels. I mean, that's just the reality. And because when you're talking about Hercule Poirot and Agatha Christie, the first two that you think about are Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, and then everything else is just kind of like, okay, well, there are these other ones, and this one feels like, oh, this is one of the other ones, but it's beautiful. So, and it's also compelling in different ways. As I mentioned, do not think that this is going to be scary. If you go in thinking it's going to be scary, you're going to be extremely disappointed. Do go in thinking it will be fun again to watch some really good actors just come in and chew on scenes and play off of each other, because that's what you're going to get. And because it accomplishes that successfully, it's the quintessential three taco movie. I mean, it's just right down the middle, three tacos. There was absolutely nothing that happened that would be like, oh, maybe I should give it guac. The beautiful scenery kind of covers up some, maybe less compelling story. But also there's nothing to say, well, it doesn't deserve three tacos. It should be two tacos plus guac. Because my rule is, would I watch this movie again? If I'm like, nah, it's two tacos plus guac. If I'm like, yeah, I would definitely watch this movie. The reality is, yeah, I definitely will watch this movie. I look forward to watching this movie again. I would love to sit down and do a Kenneth Branagh trilogy, viewing one weekend. That would be a blast. And as such, this adaptation is well worth your time. Please go see it in a theater. Please, I beg you. Yeah, because you need to get out to theaters. All right, real quick business. I won't be in next week. I am out of town this weekend, so I won't have a chance to go see any movies. So I'll be back in 2 weeks. And there is something fun coming out that I will get to review in 2 weeks. Just give me a second to get to my webpage here, where I have all of my movies coming out. So October is going to be great. I will be here all of October, because October has some absolute bangers coming out. So the first week of October, The Creator. Oh my God, John David Washington. Yeah, come on. Yeah, like, yes, more yes. Hopefully I'll get to go see Dumb Money. I'm not going to go see Saw X, nor am I going to go see Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie. The week after that, The Exorcist Believer. You're goddamn right, I'm watching The Exorcist Believer. Gosh, yes. I am. Oh my God, I am so there for The Exorcist Believer. I mean, please, if you don't know anything about me, the one thing you need to know about me is that I absolutely love exorcism movies. October 13th, everybody ran away because Taylor Swift was releasing stuff. But there's a couple of things coming out on streamers, so maybe I'll just do like a streamers catch up. That sounds like fun. And then this is when hopefully we'll be getting Sergio back in, because October 20th, Killers of the Flower Moon. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to do a review of Martin Scorsese, and this has to be better than The Irishman, because The Irishman sucks, and there's no way Scorsese makes a movie worse than The Irishman. It's just impossible. So yeah, we've got a few. We've got 3 out of the next 4 weeks after, when we come back. Yeah, bringing it hard, bringing it heavy. Hope to see you then. Thank you so much for joining me. I am your host for Real to Real Talk, Paul Britton. I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye. Okay.